Today, I've got something a little bit special for you guys. So, inside of this box right here is the Legendary Decks 2, containing 3 structure decks, one for Yugi, Kaiba, and Joey. We only really care about one of them. Inside of this box is a pack of sleeves, but inside of this pack of sleeves is a fully sleeved up 43 card brew for our boy Kaiba here. As you can see, there's not really much going on around here. There's just maybe only 3 extra deck monsters, a couple of effect monsters I've never seen, and a couple of normal monsters in here, but one that I have a very emotional connection to, and that being Blue Eyes White Dragon. This card right here has such a treasured history within the game that I only find it fair that we explore that together. And what better way of exploring the Blue Eyes White Dragon's history throughout the past 25-ish years of this game than by cosplaying the man himself, Seto Kaiba. And we're going to do that over the span of, I don't know, however long this series takes. So come along with me as we take this small Blue Eyes White Dragon deck and we change it into something that can rival the likes of that of the very gods. This is our Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Journey Season 2.
Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Journey Season 2! My name is PuzzlominoYGO and welcome back to the channel. Hope you enjoy your stay. So, you might remember that I might have already done this series before. And that is true. I have done this before, and I did it back when I first started this channel back in 2023. And if you remember from then, I started off with a branded deck. Which, for all intents and purposes, I already played off-screen. Yeah, like, I literally had that entire deck basically built out off-screen. So, I kind of already knew that I was going to do decent with it, because I already knew how the deck worked. But this time around, I'm planning on shaking things up. This time around, I'm starting off with the Legendary Decks 2 Kaiba Structure Deck. It came from a set of 3 different decks that released like back in 2012, but then got a reprint in 2020. So I was able to snatch myself up a copy a while back, and haven't really been able to use it until now. With this one singular deck, and a singular card that I'm going to mention as an exception from the decks, we'll be working our way through the different eras of Yu-Gi-Oh! And slowly turning this, honestly, god-awful structure deck into an actually competent Blue Eye strategy. And the best part about it, you guys can help me along the way. You'll be able to directly support the challenge in 2 different ways. First off, trading. Just like last time, trading is on the table. So, for my budget of $10 a week, I'll be able to purchase any product I would like. I'm not limiting myself to not buying structure decks anymore. You'll see why later. And with the cards that I pull from the product that I open, you'll be able to trade with me. If you find me out of locals, I usually go to these ones here, and you happen to have cards that I might need, we can trade a couple of cards together, and you'll be able to directly support the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Journey. And that's literally the only way I'll be able to obtain cards. Sealed product and trading. I will not be allowed to buy cards, because that would kind of ruin the point of the challenge. I'm also not allowed to surrender, because that's not in the Blue Eyes way. Which might hurt me in the future, but right now I don't think that's really going to be a problem. Because it's now time for me to talk about the other aspect of this challenge that I'm going to be working through. Limiters. Instead of the challenge system that I had implemented last time around, I revamped the entire system. Yeah, no, I threw it in the garbage. Sorry if you liked it. Instead, I'll be doing this instead. Placed upon my back are certain limitations that I have to meet whenever I'm building my deck. If you want to see a write-out of the full rules as written, the Google document documenting all of the rules and all of the current limiters are going to be inside of the description, so if you want to check it out, go ahead and look over there. Placed upon my deck building abilities are certain limitations that I am forced to obey. For instance, I cannot use the extra deck right now, because currently as of right now, the extra deck era is set to none. Yeah, we're working that far into the past. Among other things, my card pool is also limited, so I can only use a specific set of cards based on what Kaiba played in the anime, movies included, the video games, or are in Starter Deck Kaiba and Starter Deck Kaiba Reloaded. You'll see why I make the distinction later. In terms of copies of cards that I can play, we're kicking it back absolutely old school, and we're only playing a single copy of every single card in the deck except for Blue Eyes White Dragon. So these limiters seem like they're going to be absolutely disgusting. How am I going to get rid of them? Well, through the use of limiter removal challenges. By completing the limiter removal challenges, we'll be able to remove one of these limitations, or move them to the next limiter in line. For instance, if I were to unlock none into fusion, then I can start using fusion stuff, etc., etc. And finally, here is the second way you guys are going to be able to modify this challenge. I won't pick the limiter removals. Whenever we meet the requirements to do a limiter removal, I will make a community post asking you guys what limitation on my decks I can remove. Now, I'll tell you where my theory goes in regards to how I plan on building this deck. But ultimately, you will be the ones that choose where this deck goes. So it's kind of like we're building the deck together, if that makes sense. And that's basically it. I don't exactly have like a set endpoint on where I want this challenge to end. I just want to keep it going because honestly, I found the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Journey so much fun to do, but I never got to record it past episode 4. So I really want to rectify that and make just like a long-term series where we can play a deck together and sort of like, you know, just like interact with the community and stuff like that. I think it sounds fun. Anyways, with all the preamble out of the way, time to get to all the interesting stuff. For instance, like the first pack opening. Oh, by the way, when I recorded the live action sections for the video, I didn't realize until too late that the audio was completely fucking borked. So I apologize in advance for the audio sounding absolutely cooked. I promise I will check next time before I open product on camera and, you know, make it so that I can't go back and dub over it. Whoops. Have fun, guys.
Okay, so if you've been paying attention to any of the limitations that I have imposed upon myself, you're gonna notice something very quickly about this deck that we've been presented with. As it stands right now, it's currently illegal. Yeah, I literally can't even play this deck given the limiters that I have upon myself. So, like, sure, there may be, like, actual Blue Eyes support within the deck. However, because Kaiba never actually played them within the anime, I can't exactly use them. Yet. So, taking out all the cards that I cannot actually play yet, we are left with this. About 20 cards inside of the main deck that I can actually use because Kaiba used them in the anime, or Kaiba Man in this instance, and extra deck cards that I literally cannot access quite yet. So this is all we've got. And obviously, that's a problem. So, our first product is going to help remedy that as much as we can. Obviously, there's got to be a couple of rules and exceptions that I'll mention once we get to the deck profile later. But for now, let's begin with the first product that we're going to open up for this journey. A copy of the Saga of Blue Eyes White Dragon structure deck. Inside of here is going to provide us with a couple of cards that Kaiba had used within the anime that we can now have access to. Very notably, it's going to also give us access to a bunch of staples that are going to be very beneficial to us in the future when we get to play them. But let's get to an opening and we'll see what we can pull from inside of this box. I'm going to move the cards out of the way that we can play. Just put them over here for now so that I can, you know, have a bit more space to work with this. I have not actually opened up any of these boxes of Saga of Blue Eyes White Dragon in like years. The last time that I did was maybe, I want to say before the other Blue Eyes structure deck came out, which I do intend on opening next week. So look forward to that when that episode comes out. But until then, let's work with this. Hold on, I just want to do something really quickly. Yep, that definitely smells like old Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Alright, so let's see what we can use in here. So obviously we love ourselves a shinier copy of Blue Eyes White Dragon. The Azure Eyes Silver Dragon is also a pretty cool card and a rarity upgrade once we actually unlock Synchros. Maiden with Eyes of Blue is a card that was not actually used by Kaiba quite yet, but in the near future we will actually be able to use them sooner than you think. As part of one of the limiter removal stipulations. One of them calls for specifically cards that Kaiba used in either the anime or in live duels. And a lot of the live duels were actually utilized by Konami in order to sell a lot of the Blue Eyes White Dragon related products. That includes cards like Maiden with Eyes of Blue, Dragon Shrine, and Castle of Dragon Souls. All of these are cards that Kaiba had used within one of these live duels, alongside a couple of other live duels that we'll be able to have access to a little bit later down the line, and I'll talk about them and I'll mention them when they come up. But this is going to provide us with a decent enough. It's going to provide us with a decent enough starting off point in order to actually play the game. A couple of normal monsters and all that stuff that I'll be able to utilize here, and then I'll talk about when we get to actually deck building. But for now, let's build the fucking deck. I just realized, why the hell are my cards printed like this? What the fuck? Yeah, I don't know if it shows up on camera, but the foils are off. Okay. Huh. Alright then.
Okay, that took me a second, but yeah, I finally built the deck. So I had to cheat in a couple of places in order to actually pull it off. I'll explain to them, how I got here, but let's just get on with it. I really didn't know how to actually present this sort of deck, because this is the first time I've actually presented something that's, you know, not crazily well built, but you'll just have to trust me on this one. Here we go. So first starting out, we're going to be starting off with the only 3 copies of a card that we can have in our deck, that being 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon. For obvious reasons, we are going to be playing this at 3 copies because there's no reason why we can't. The only thing I did note is that I did rarity upgrade one of the Blue Eyes White Dragons to being an ultra rare, so now we have that, I suppose. So there you go. Next, we have all of our normal monsters. I'm going to say for the rest of this challenge in perpetuity, all normal monsters are legal. Even if Kaiba never played them, because they're normal monsters, who's going to play them? So I'm going to be playing Flamvell Guard, Luster Dragon, Alexandrite Dragon, Battle Ox, Lujin, Vorse Raider, and Rabbit Dragon. The only 2 that Kaiba never technically played out of these cards here are going to be the Flamvell Guard and the Rabbit Dragon, but everything else Kaiba did technically play. Next, we're going to go on to our normal monsters, but before we go to our normal monsters, I have to explain another addition that I made to the deck. I included 1 copy of Dark Storm Dragon. Now, the reason why he's in here is because technically, Dark Storm Dragon is a Gemini monster, which therefore makes him a normal monster when you summon him. So long as I don't actually use the normal, the actual Gemini effect in order to turn him into an effect monster, he is a normal monster. So I'm just gonna not use his effect. Now we can go on to the actual effect monsters. We've got Shining Angel, we've got Kaiba Man, Ancient Lamp, Blade Knight, and Kaiser Seahorse alongside Kaiser Glider, and Divine Dragon of Polycraft. Now, the only card that I technically really had to cheat on this one is, I believe, Divine Dragon of Polycraft. Other than that, Kaiba has used all of these cards before. One of them being Kaiba Man. Kaiba Man was technically played by Kaiba Man in the anime, in the GX anime. Now, I had to skip over a couple of ones because I had to cheat on them somewhat. This is where the actual cheating begins. I had to cheat on maybe 4 cards. I cheated on the White Stone of Legend, the White Stone of Ancients, Maiden with Eyes of Blue, and Tiger Dragon. Now, the reason why I have Tiger Dragon in here is because the only card, these 2 cards, actually, yeah, these 2 cards are the most cheated. These 2 cards were included in the starter deck Kaiba Reloaded deck back all the way in 2008 or something like that. So I'm going to say that these cards are going to be legal because they were legal back then. Even though Kaiba never technically played them, they're included in content that would have been him. And these are the cards that I cheated in. Now, the reason why I cheated these ones in particular because I need my deck to work. But these cards are going to be more readily available sooner than anything else. The Maiden would have came out in the actual Saga of Blue Eyes White Dragon, and I can't play 2 copies of the White Stone of Legend, so I had to play 1 and 1. So this is good. I feel this is a good enough compromise. If you guys really don't care, then I hope you guys don't care. If you guys do care that much, then what are you doing here? I also had to take in 1 more card from outside of the Kaiba deck, and it is one that I don't believe anybody is going to have any complaints on me adding into the deck, and that is 1 copy of Obelisk the Tormentor to round out our monster lineup for this starting deck. Now, it should really be obvious why I included this card inside of the deck. I really don't have to explain myself here. But I had to pull this from the Yugioh deck in order for this to actually work. So that's the only thing that I had to do. But other than that, we are not going to be touching any of the other decks, even though I have them all on hand. This is the only card that I will be taking from there. Okay? Okay. That's going to do it for our monster lineup. Now we can go on to the spells and traps. The spells and traps are going to move a lot quicker because these are all just basically utility spells and or spells that Kaiba used at least once and that I can use now. Or they were included in Starter Deck Kaiba Reloaded or Starter Deck Kaiba, so therefore I can use them. So, here we go. We are on Soul Exchange, which is a obvious Kaiba card. Monster Reborn. A Wing Beat. We are on Burst Stream. The reason I have included Burst Stream is it's a small cheat because it's the name of the attack. Enemy Controller, Shrink, Silent Doom, and Polymerization, and a copy of Fusion Substitute. Now, the reason I have Fusion Substitute in here is because it technically counts as a copy of Polymerization, but it has a different name on it, and it does something slightly different, so I'm going to include it in here for now. And then finally, to round out our spell lineup, we are on one copy of Stamping Destruction, Ancient Rules, and Draconic Tactics. Now, these cards were included in the Kaiba Reloaded, therefore they can be included in here. And then this card, Ancient Rules, was not included in any of, the actual source material alongside any of the other decks up until now. But I'm just going to play this card as a reference to Duelist Kingdom rules, so that I can just summon my Blue Eyes White Dragon whenever the hell I damn well please. That's going to round out our spell lineup. Now it's time for our admittedly pitiful trap lineup. I only had to cheat one of these cards because all the other cards Kaiba had played at one point, but let me get to them real quick. Alright, so for our traps, we are on one copy of Cloning, one copy of Shadow Spell, one copy of Negate Attack, one copy of Final Orders, and the card that I had to cheat in, that being Champion's Vigilance. Now, the reason why I have Champion's Vigilance in here is because, technically, if Kaiba wanted to use this, it would be a staple in any of his decks if he was playing in Duel Links. This is a card that is readily available whenever you duel him, and it's one of his, prizes that he gives you. So I'm going to include it into the deck for now, so that I can have a negate. I need something here, guys. Gang, this deck is hot ass at the present moment of time. So, yeah, I need all the help I can get, and I'm going to cheat in this one card, and then once I get the chance to replace it, I will replace it, I swear to God. That's going to round it out for our main deck. Now we're going to talk about the extra deck. That's going to make it up for the extra deck. Now we can talk about the side. Yeah, you're going to... there's nothing to show off here, sadly. Yeah, we're that desperate. This is the segment where I would talk about the extra or the side deck, if I had one. So yeah, sadly, we're not going to have an extra or a side deck going into this next tournament, because I didn't unlock them yet. Oops. It's fine, because the extra deck, I literally couldn't use anything inside of the extra deck anyways, so there's no point in me having to wait. So I'm just going to not play an extra deck. Whatever, it's fine. Kaiba didn't need it, and I don't think... Oh wait, no, he had Blue Eyes Silver. Fuck! That'll be fine. I'll be fine. Anyways, that's going to round it out for our deck profile. Now let's see how well we did.
Alright, so we are back a day later after the tournament concluded, and I'm just gonna, yap off and give my thoughts as to what happened at the tournament today. So round one in the very first duel of the challenge was unrecorded. That's fine, because the matchup that we had therein was honestly kind of fun. We were up against True Draco, and even though the both of us didn't have extra decks, neither of us could really play the game for a decent amount of time there. Issue being is that his deck was a little bit better than ours, so we couldn't take it. We didn't even get to summon a single Blue Eyes, though I will admit I botched an opportunity to actually summon out Blue Eyes, but that's fine. Luckily in round two, which was Ritual Beasts, we were able to pull off this.
Okay, I'm gonna do something here. I'm going to normal summon the White Stone of Ancients. I will enter the battle phase, or attempt to leave. Okay. I will use the White Stone of Ancients and attack into Winda.
Yeah,
Crash. I will take 300.
Mm-hmm.
Main phase 2, end phase. effect of the White Stone of Ancients?
I guess that's fine. This Foolos ain't doing much now.
Yeah, I will summon Blue Eyes White Dragon! I did it! Let's go! And then it is your turn. Go ahead.
Draw.
So, with our very first Blue Eyes summoned, we have now completed one of our first limiter removal challenges! With that limiter removal challenge out of the way, basically the finer points of the duels are not exactly the most interesting. At least not yet, anyways. I'll just try to go through them as quickly as I can. Game 1 and Game 2, we got ramped out. And that kind of holds true for my round 3 opponent, which was Exosisters, and my round 4 opponent, which was Dark World. If you really want to see how these duels went, I'll have them available as a Puzzlemino Plays Yu-Gi-Oh! Episode later on in the future. So don't you worry, I will have them available for you to watch in their full entirety. But for the sake of the challenge, the only important things you need to know is this. Out of the 4 rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh! That we played tonight, we were able to summon Blue Eyes 8 whole times, and we also lost 8 games. We didn't take a single game off of anybody, but that's going to change, I hope, real soon. Now, with our first limiter removal challenges done, we can now get to a limiter removal. So in terms of the limitations that we can actually remove, we can remove 1 out of 4 options. Extra deck size doesn't exactly matter right now because we don't even have an extra deck to work with. So that immediately removes it out of the running. Of the 4 options that are remaining, we've got extra deck era, side deck size, card pool cannon, and Mimicat. I think in terms of what would be most beneficial to us right now, I feel like expanding our card pool to include all of the cards from the live duels would be absolutely amazing. Especially with the product that we're going to be opening up next week, which is Blue Eyes White Destiny. Obviously, I wouldn't mind being able to actually utilize the extra deck, but I don't exactly need it for the strategy that I feel like I'm going to go into if I were to expand that card pool. But obviously, that's not my choice to make. So I leave it in your guys' capable hands. For the next week, you guys will be able to vote, and whatever you guys vote on, I get to use. Oh yeah, and by the way, while we were there, we were also able to nail down 2 trades while we were out there for this first day. We were given a donation of a Mystical Space Typhoon, alongside being able to trade for Card of Demise, Claw of Hermos, Lullaby of Obedience, and Mirror Force, for a copy of White Elephant's Gift, Alexandrite Dragon, and a bunch of other cards that I can't remember. Kinda sucks that I had to get rid of my Maiden with Eyes of Blue and my Dragon Shrine, but it's gonna be fine. We're gonna get more copies anyways. Oh, right. I will also note one more thing that happened while I was out at this tournament. Something I didn't even really realize until, my last round when I was playing Dark World. I started looking around the rest of the shop, and, well, I mean, it helps that I know most of those guys in there, but I realized that while playing this admittedly terrible deck, I was basically grinning from ear to ear the entire tournament, even if I was getting my ass kicked, all the time. I can't say the same about, playing most Yu-Gi-Oh! Most of the time. The week before this episode aired, I was at the Rosemont Regional, and while I met a couple of cool people while I was out there, I'll admit, my tournament was rough. I only went 4-5 in 9 rounds of Swiss, even after practicing for what felt like months. So finally being able to just shed all of that and finally give myself the opportunity to have fun again, it was, infectious, I guess. I feel like a bunch of other people started joining in on the just absolute lunacy of the moment. So if I could conclude anything out of my experience today, I'd really like to just reiterate the point that every once in a while, even if you're a competitive grinder or, you're trying to get as good in the game as humanly possible as you can, to never forget to, sort of schedule that time where you can just enjoy the fucking game, Because I will be honest, this is the most fun that I've ever had playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In the longest time. And it also helps that I was surrounded by a bunch of friends that I, felt comfortable being able to scream Blue Eyes White Dragon at the top of my lungs. But I couldn't feel more proud in saying that this is where the journey begins. Oh, and by the way, I also opened up my entry pack.
We're going to then return snow to the hand to add rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Rainbow, the Overlord of the Dark World.
Yes. Then we're going to Xyz summon.
Xyz what?
Hey, you know what that is.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That's true.
We're going to summon number 38, Hope Harbinger, Dragon Titanic Galaxy.
Jesus Christ.
Here's what's in that pack in this duel.
I agree.
Play one card face down, and then we're going to. Oh, okay. I thought it was a different.
Wait,
Can I see it?
wait, that's
like
so.
colored weird.
No, it's a misprint.
It's a
No! I caught it on cam! I caught it on cam!
Oh man.
Wait, yeah. Wait, if it's a normal monster, I can summon it.
True. Add a case for K9.
Yes. Because we're good.
Well, Kaiba, I'm feeling generous today. You're gonna need all the help you can get.
Probably.
Because I'm going to play.
Yeah, so that's cool. I have no intention of trading that anytime soon. I just wanted to show that off. And that about wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching this first episode of a series that I feel like I'm going to really enjoy. I hope you guys enjoy it too, because I think doing a Yu-Gi-Oh! Sealed Only challenge kind of fits the vibe of the new player experience really well. By documenting my own experience and talking about how it feels to, be playing not the most stellar deck, but just going into these fully built decks into locals, it kind of simulates how being a new player is into the hobby, at least as much as I can. And by adding all of these limitations onto myself, I simulate understanding in the game and I can kind of take that noob-ish player perspective and sort of put that on display for people who are probably trying to get into the game as well. And obviously, because it's Blue Eyes, I think a lot of people are also going to be starting from this location as well. But anyways, that's going to be it for this episode. This is PuzzlominoPassing Turn. See you around.